Hello and welcome to the Mysticast, where you join Jack Stafford and Deborah Littleboy, members of the Etherious Society, the cosmic religion for the Aquarian Age, as we break down the barriers between religion, science, metaphysics, philosophy, and mysticism, all of which are only aspects of the self-same quest for truth. Please note this is an independent program, not produced or fact-checked by the Etherious Society. Today, our guest is James Powell. Hello, James.
Well, hello, Jack and Deborah, both of you. Nice to meet you, and I'm so happy to be on your show with you.
Where are you in the world today?
I'm speaking to you from Ubon Ratchathani, Thailand, in fact, where I work at the local university, and I work online for University of Wisconsin teaching religion, or worldviews is the term I prefer because the word religion turns off the young folks. But worldview does not. And so, you try as an instructor to reach them in the best, most amenable methods and terms.
Well, that's what you're all about, isn't it? Bridging the divides. Maybe you could kick us off, introduce yourself a little bit and about your worldview instead of religion.
Well, yeah, I was raised by an existentialist, very liberal Protestant minister. But in the Midwest in Indiana, surrounded by Baptists who told me that my father and I were going to go to hell. And not only us, but all the Chinese and Indians who ever lived. And I had to think, how terrible could these other people be? I've got to know more. And so I started my digging. Thank goodness I had the Wikipedia of my era, which was the Encyclopedia Britannica, and I could stun even my own biased father with the Arab Empire. They didn't have an empire, he said, but thanks to the encyclopedias, I could learn not only about them, but Soviet atheism. I had to know more about them, but especially the Buddhists who didn't believe in God or a soul. And then that got me on my journey. And then my BA and master's, or my master's degree were in Christianity, Christian theology. And then my BA was in Buddhist religion, Buddhist studies, and I got a PhD with a Tibetan advisor, again in Buddhist studies. So my BA was with a Japanese advisor. So between those two and then Christian degree in your own country, Cambridge, where I got really the very conservative Anglican view of the world, mixing it all up, I found my own path. I find when you ask me specifically what's my inner worldview, I really incline to, we call it Pure Land Buddhism, but actually happiness Buddhism is the more accurate translation. And it's not unlike the perennial philosophy or what I understand the Etherious Society and many Hindu traditions want to do, which is to attain gnosis or deeper awakening, as opposed to, salvation in a group heaven kind of thing. So that leads me to that. But then as an instructor, I'm just more in the world of maps. I'm not enlightened. I'm a terrible meditator. I like to contemplate, but I'm really just here to sort out the maps for students. So Columbus and George King, other heroes, Krishnamurti, great heroes, were like Columbus, but I'm more like Amerigo Vespucius back in Italy, drawing up what best picture he can, for other people.
That's very modest of you, yeah. I mean, you must have.
It's the truth.
Yeah. Well, we stand on the shoulders of giants, don't we?
Yes.
Yeah. So it must have been very interesting to find the Etherious Society, because I don't think many people have really studied it from an outside perspective. I could be wrong, but in what its worldview is and what it stands for, and I mean its service to others, but it's also seeking enlightenment through cosmic consciousness, ascension, interplanetary existence. So yeah, comparing it to existing worldviews, I mean, where do you think it fits into your map?
Well, for example, on the issue of aliens or angels or bodhisattvas, at a certain point in my life, though I'm always intrigued by aliens, science fiction, and I think there are the ships here and all that. But the point is, they're all higher consciousnesses, and I do believe those exist. All based on belief, though not knowledge in my case. Like I haven't attained gnosis, but I believe these states exist, and I get higher and higher. I think we've all grown to enough to see that there are stages of awareness. So just to keep going up the steps is my path, as opposed to a sudden or Zen enlightenment, very gradual. I don't know. Is that getting at what you're saying?
What was I asking, Deborah?
Well, what I'm hearing is that we're taught in the society that, or the masters have given us, that the karma yoga is the yoga of today. And basically, it's roll up your sleeves, do the work, and just keep serving others. Grow a little bit. You'll grow yourself as you serve, and you'll transmute your negative energies as you serve with a good and open heart. But it's not a case of go and lock yourself in a cave and get enlightenment and then disappear off happily ever after. No, 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 no. We've been told that's an idiot's
No
view,
happy
or
endings.
foolish. What we have, we're all in it together. The world's in a mess. We got it in a mess. It's up to us to sort it out together, and no more squabbling in the sandpit. And that's, I don't think that I'm going to be employed by the Etherious Society for their speaker, but that's my understanding of it in Deborah's talk. Like the Mother Teresa, she said, if we all just help the person that stood in front of you, we wouldn't have any problems. And I'm a simple woman, and that makes perfect sense to me. Just got to be kind.
I think
And keep going.
That's at the heart of all of them, isn't it? Really. So, you talk about the heart. I remember now too, Jack, where I was going with bodhisattvas and angels, or, Buddhas in this case, the immeasurable light Buddha. Is that a real being, like Jehovah is thought to be? Well, not exactly. Was once allegedly human and evolved up in stages and carves out a place where other consciousnesses can go after this life. But the point, as Dr. Yamada, my advisor, stressed again and again, is the Pure Land is something you make here by glimpsing it, through devotion and awareness and meditation, kindness, just like Deborah said. Then you see immeasurable light awakening right here, which that is the point, isn't it? It's not pie in the sky when you die, which, among the many maps, I like to outline that for students. Some students want that for their own path, and then they maybe need that, as Freud said, as a dependency, to kind of speak negatively about it. But for me, I don't need that. But what I love is what Deborah said, and what the Etherious Society, as I understand it, seeks to aim, to cultivate too, just the love and light, right?
Yeah, really what I got from the Etherious Society was and also from metaphysical, because it's based on yoga, ancient yoga. Dr. King was in yoga in England for 10 years in the 1950s, advanced pranayama, mantra, 8-10 hours a day. So it's what you're saying, there's levels of consciousness on this realm. You go around a city, you see people of different consciousness, don't you? So you see some people struggling to keep their shit together, and some people who are just pinging, So, but then this book, The Nine Freedoms, kind of explains, like you were talking about bodhisattvas and angels, and so when we die, it's in the other religions, but I think it's more coded that, when you die, you go to another realm, which is right here, but just a different frequency. And then you go there for a time, then you come back here, then you go there. So it's the life between lives in the reincarnation. And if you believe in reincarnation, you've got to believe that it has a beginning and an end. And I like to think is an evolution. So you're going from somewhere to somewhere, and it kind of explains what happens when you raise Kundalini and you become enlightenment, cosmic consciousness, and then a Buddha. You don't have to go into this unconscious reincarnatory cycle, but you can choose to leave this classroom and incarnate on other worlds. So the aliens are just at a different frequency. If you go to Mars and Venus, they're at a different frequency. So there's nobody, we wouldn't see anyone now. But if we were at a higher consciousness, they would all be fully populated. So that kind of like these the aliens and kind of the ghosts are just at different frequencies. Kind of makes a lot of sense to me when it was explained to me in this kind of Jack basic language.
I like that language. In Thailand, the belief in ghosts is prevalent to the point where my wife will haunt the born, and everyone does, most people passing the cemetery. So the ghosts, you don't drive through a ghost. And, just through osmosis, while my father was this ultra rationalist, I've started to sort of believe in ghosts too. And why not? Because, as you say, there are so many mysteries in the universe. This was also the happiness Buddhism. You traverse those realms. It's such an ancient Indian view. I think my big dilemma, frankly, this late in life is now
get it out. Yeah,
really
improved therapy.
But what is assessing the tradition of Jehovah relative to the traditions of Buddha, if you will, or the Jains or the Indians? The idea of the God out there who's unnatural, appears in words but not nature, compared to what we're talking about, an immanent world. These are like two halves of the planet. And what for me is, why are there these kind of two basic breakdowns? We can break it down millions of ways, but the idea of just the general of the universe idea versus the idea that the universe of light and life pervades everything, and we're part of it. Like Taoism is such a counter model to the Protestant views I was raised with of a somewhat angry God but it's so prevalent, must be relevant is kind of what I'm getting at. And it must be real in a way, even if it doesn't correspond to what I believe.
Well, I think the explanation, Deborah will have to correct me if I'm wrong, but in the Etherious Society, there is everything is God. So we are the God, did the Big Bang, manifested everything. It is everything. This Mike, you, me, we're all aspects we are all divine sparks. And then there are people who are, the Jehovah is the sun, which is evolving back to God. And eventually we evolve to form planets, consciousness accumulates. The sun will eventually become a galaxy, which is a living being. It will amalgamate with other suns it's this going back to God. So the Buddha's a God to us, Jesus is a God to us, because they're interplanetary beings, but they're gods, they're higher up. So there's, there are the devas. So there's all these beings evolving back to God. But so that incorporates, does that answer your question, the multi-faith? See how there can be one God and many gods at the same time?
No, I agree with that too, but it's, to my mind, more the Indic view than this other view, which is exclusivist, but dominates. I mean, the numbers of the planet who believe, in the more militaristic God picture of the universe.
I mean, God as a person, you mean like God as a being, a man?
Yeah, my Southern Baptist friend I mentioned at the beginning, like there are so many, and I don't want to write them off as lower level vibrations than me or you guys, because, we agree. But I'm trying to account for why there is this polarity among humans, because Jesus or Martin Luther King, these are great figures, and yet their belief was in this other worldly being.
Well,
Do you know what I'm saying?
It could have been.
Can I just jump in?
Yes.
From a personal point of view, because it's always going to come down. That's the only point of view I can really honestly give. When I found this society, there is one of the main books is a book called The 12 Blessings, and it was given through Dr. King by the Master Jesus, and it's a progressive, it's a practical We send out energy, we get back energy, and it's a progressive thing. So blessed are they that work for peace. And then we move up from that. Blessed are the wise ones. Blessed are they who love. Blessed are the planetary ones, and we work up. So it's a progressive thing. We send out energy, and we're told where we send the energy to. The energy will come back through the same through the same passageway to us, if you like, and then that brings us up just a little bit because we're going to a higher frequency than we are currently. So this join you, have some of my dirty stuff, and they go, thanks very much. Here's some nice clean stuff, and then we all raise up. So I loved that. But the point I'm trying to make is that on some of the prayers, when we get to the 10th blessing, which is blessed is the great being known as the galaxy, the prayer to that is Almighty Jehovah. So Jesus has told us when we get to the galactic level, we pray to Jehovah. So Jehovah is suddenly not this one thing. It's this collection that has brought us up greater than the galaxy, and we're then going to Jehovah. Hey, Jehovah, says us through the galaxy. Here's our stuff, what we've got for us, and then it all comes back again. And because as a young child going to school and reading the Bible, I thought that Jehovah was like rubbish. Honestly, who wants to? I read Genesis and got to 2.4. Sorry, chapter 2, verse 4, and I thought that's where Jehovah came in, and we were doing all right until he turned up. Thanks very much. So this is my childish thing, and I held that prejudice against Jehovah. Like we were all doing okay, and then he showed up and made a right mess of it all. Right? Carried it through adulthood. Carried this. And then I found the society and loved these prayers, just loved, and it felt right and it was good, and I was on the right path. And then I got to that prayer. We've gone right up to like 10 of 12, and then I'm praying to this guy that mucked it all up. It really, I had to dissolve so much, James. But what it did for me, it took that side which you're describing as like that limited side to the expressive openness side, and made that connection, and I managed to knit it together.
You're illuminated as you say it.
And I think I need to do something probably with, Brahma's coming through my window, so I think I probably need to go and put some shades on that. But for me, that was so incredible. And when I'd actually dissected it, put it all back together, like if you like reknitted the jumper, I had to unwind the whole jumper and reknit it. And now I've got no problem at all. There's no conflict in me. And so if the teaching gave me one thing and it's given me many things, that has to be the vocal point to me, that pinnacle point of being able to put everything into that oneness. And Dr. King and Master Jesus, I am so grateful. And I know that even saying that is a good thing, because somebody that's higher than me is giving me better stuff back. I mean, how wonderful is that?
That was really beautiful.
I'll go and see to my...
very beautifully put.
Carry on talking to Jack.
Sure. Very beautifully put, I thought, Deborah, and a wonderful mystical reading of Jehovah. And I suppose that's how I look at it too. You know, Jehovah is sort of the archetypal ego incarnate, but he's not incarnate because he's literally I am he, or I am, you know, and of course for me, the Buddha is this weird photo negative of that whole tradition where I am not, and we have no self or soul. We're just a flux of consciousness. And so the two, um, they, in fact, I call China it's called the land of three religions because you can be all three at once: Taoist, Buddhist, or Confucian, and most are. I call them the invisible religions because you don't see them, but they're really omnipresent in China. It's just built in. But with the three Abrahamics, they have strong identities. They're firm and tough, and we've just seen it this week, but we've seen it through all of history, the wars they fight. And that's why, while I agree with you all, we're kind of taking the Indic side with yoga and, Hinduism, all the beautiful things that really help me as well, Deborah, to interpret and unpack Jehovah and the other things. It helped me interpret it. But then as an instructor of religion, mostly having had conservative Christian students when I started, now I have atheists, and the atheists all hate religion because they interpret it all like Jehovah. And so, but what, for me, it'll be a mystery to the end. What accounts for the world being divided in this weird way? But I'm definitely on your side of the Jehovah question.
Well, let me try and chip in with a better answer because I've been stewing here because I got it wrong first time. But they said that the masters say that truth has two poles, so something can seem two opposing views can both be correct. Because have you they in the Bible you've heard the Ancient of Days. Have you heard that?
Mm-hmm.
You've heard that referred to in the Bible. We're told that is the Senate Kumar who came from Saturn. Is that right?
He was actually a lord of Venus, but I think he might have come from Saturn. But he was living on Venus when he decided to come here. We don't know where he was, perhaps before, but it could have been Saturnian.
So stick with me, James. It might get a bit weird here, but because it's not accepted in the mainstream. But according to the teachings, we were first on Maldek, which is now the asteroid belt. So we destroyed the planet Maldek, which is, if you go through the planets, the distance from the sun, there is a gap with the asteroids there. And so we had such bad karma, but we incarnated on Earth 18 million years ago. And we had to have vehicles of expression designed for us. So we had to have a god, a being much more evolved than us, not God, not as evolved as the sun, but the Sanat Kumar who came from Venus, Lord of the Flame, and he had his team help design these vehicles of expression. And we went through Lemurius and Atlantis. We went through these civilizations, and now we're in the present day. So there are beings like Jesus and the Buddha who are gods to us, but because we're in they're maybe the wardens of the educational facility is a way to describe it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a lovely view. Right. I lost my train of thought. I was going to go somewhere, but I hope you can do some.
Sorry, I stamped all over your train of thought. I do apologize.
No, you didn't. I'm just trying to reconnoiter now. I remember now. I was going to say the polarities idea. I mean, it's there in Taoism, and on some level, I suppose I see that Eastern religions as the yin religions, and the Abrahamics as the yang religions, and that we need them both. And yet, on the other hand, the yang religions just, there's just too much judgment and violence. While I still am a disciple of Christ, I don't have a problem at all with that, or Martin Luther King, or countless Christian heroes. Martin Luther, even, not a good guy. Or Oliver Cromwell, as you may know, a villain to the Irish, yet a hero to my father. And that, for me, is what open source religion is about, is that I'll still always be secretly proud of the man who beheaded the king, because he helped create this system of civil rights we've got today. It was violent and ugly. I don't applaud Cromwell as an individual, but on the other hand, he played a role, that had good and bad in it. So it's really bizarre, how your heroes become villains in time, and vice versa sometimes.
Yeah, we take a lot from also the Theosophical Society came before the Etherious Society, because the ascended masters who balance the karma and are, the bodhisattvas, they communicated through Madame Blavatsky, and they set up the Theosophical Society, and then the Cosmic Masters have come in to help set up the Etherious Society. So that's that kind of communications.
And that's what struck me in reading the Etherious Society, and I've been a big fan of Madame Blavatsky, and even more Henry Steele Olcott, you may know, her traveling partner. He was more the rational Protestant who converted to Buddhism. And so I kind of have a certain identify with him a bit, because he can, a lot of the same reasons that I also shifted. Just how can we have this angry God, not responsible for evil, yet powerful enough to stop it? The standard theodicy question is really what inhibits, I think, moral reasoning in the Abrahamic religions. It's always the challenge they face. If God is out there and all powerful and doesn't step into our world, to save it, then he's allowing it to happen.
Well, it's God manifesting as karma, isn't it? As the law of karma. So the Cosmic Masters and the Ascended Masters, they can only intervene a certain amount because they're balancing karma. You can't just if every time your kid falls over and you pick it, if you walk around with him all day holding his hands, he's never going to learn to walk. So this is a benevolent God, and the karma of the law of karma is there's some flex in there, I think, but it has to be strong, otherwise we'd never learn anything.
I like that view, the idea of karma as a teacher, and the idea of consciousness as just something we're all part of, universal consciousness. The planet is conscious. I think we agree on all those things.
Yeah.
But I mean, the real problem I see in the world, or the polarity, is just between those who differentiate between the natural and then leads to destruction of our planet, and then those who think more or less along the lines we're talking about, where we're part of the planet. And indeed, immeasurable light Buddha can't intervene. You have to throw your consciousness towards it and its pure consciousness realm. But we're in this karma, like you say, so that answers the theodicy question with the Asian religions for me. They solve that for me the way you did.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
And so the Abrahamics, I respect them, and Islam leads to social justice and freedom from slavery for many, even women's rights, contrary to most opinions. Muhammad gave more rights to women than they had in America until the late 19th century. Owning property, getting a divorce, for just a start, getting an education. So they all play their role. That's what for me is the salad bowl of religion. And sometimes I feel like the Confucian lettuce with its rigid systems are helpful, and I want learned and able administrators in my real world I live in. And on the other hand, the Taoist dressing, I want to relax and just forget about worry. And there really is nothing to worry about. And Buddhism, awakening my mind, for Christ, forgiving myself and others. Those, they've all got their gifts. Moses and Muhammad, the prophets, it's just like, and the Hindu greats, Shiva and Vishnu, they're the most colorful and vivid, I think, of all of them.
Yeah.
My students all agree,
It's a real fruit bowl, isn't it? It's a salad mix. You're picking the best bits of all around the world. Yeah.
I think we all just should do that. I was told you can't do that. You've got to be faithful to your tradition. I think that's just the way the clergy maintain, their power and structure with that ideology. Well, you got to stay Anglican because
can't say that.
England's Anglican. I heard that a lot. I studied 2 years there. I heard that a lot.
Well, I think the problem is, all these religions were set up by very, very great men, great beings, but then people got involved, and the Bible was rewritten in Constantinople. Reincarnation was taken out of the Bible, 400 AD and many other
Yeah.
mistakes, and because to keep power and money and shit show.
I know. Human greed.
Yeah.
Greed, hatred, and ignorance are the Buddhist three poisons, and they work for me, I guess, as an explanation.
Yeah, I hear you there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if we're on agreement on everything, we might as well just hang up and.
I'd
like to come in, if I may. Again, it's banging the Etherious drum for me was the fact that there was this tie-up. So I'm told that I have to roll up my sleeves and I have to work at making things work. I can't just sit back and be in my own peaceful pod. But I'm also told that I have to develop myself by the way that we do it is sacred mantra, chanting of mantra, learning how to channel energy, keeping my concentration, keeping my focus, making sure my intent is pure, making sure my thoughts are pure. And the practical approach of, as I explained, bringing in the higher energies to transmute my lower energies. So I see that for me, the Etherious Society just reconciles both of those sides. Yet you need to clear it up. You need to be respectful of higher intelligences than you. Because, hey, Deborah, you're not as bright as you think you are. And I don't think I'm very bright, but that's that whole thing. You've got to always have that humbleness to know that there is greater things than this finite body can take on. And yet I'm told that I can go in and bring in these higher energies, and that weaving of the zigzag journey, almost like the snake movement of you have to be that side. Oh, gone a bit too far. Oh, I have to come back that. So, oh, I've overstepped it. And you just, you build that whole journey. And for me, I haven't found that in any other teachings. So I'm sticking with this until I find something that's better.
One of the quotes of the masters, isn't it?
I'm absolutely sticking with this because it's the best I've come across, and I've been searching I'm 64, and as I say, a child of 4 thought that Jehovah was like a bad man. So,
well, there's that quote, isn't it?
It's taken me a long time to get to this point, and I'm happy. Yes, Jack.
Choose well, stand fast, know God, is what one of the messages.
Wait, what was that?
Choose well, stand fast, know God. That's what the quote from one of the masters. And Dr. King channeled the Master of Etherious on British TV, and I think in the 1950s. And he was asked the question, what you do to make the world a better place. And he said, just if you're a Christian, be the best Christian you can be. If you're a Hindu, be the best Hindu you can be, etc. And that was his message, the message from the Cosmic Masters. So,
well, I always get the question from students, hey, Powell, what's the true religion? You've studied them all. And I said, I have the answer. It's the religion that makes you happy. And then they don't want that. They want me to give them some it's Hinduism or something. No, so I think Deborah has found the true religion.
But
they were given given at different times to different people. No, I mean, the message of the Buddha is a lot more complicated than the message of Jesus, because he was giving it to simpler people at a different time, less educated people. It's horses for courses, no?
Yeah, but it's fascinating. I think that's really what I've done. That's where I remain an existentialist too, just like my father. Not a Protestant one, but more of a Buddhist Protestant, existentialist. But it's always, as you said, Deborah, it's the true religion for Deborah. And that's what we all need. That's where realizing that I have a worldview, you have a worldview, they're not right or wrong. They're different worldviews, different parts of the salad that we can transcend the differences. And realizing that Deborah's got the greatest religion on the planet for Deborah. And likewise for James, this Pure Land happiness Buddhism makes me happy. And on the atheist debates, I just say, well, what if I'm wrong? Then I will simply have to die a little happier than I would have otherwise. They don't have an answer to that. Because I'm not banking on some heaven, but I will die more happily because I choose to believe it. It's, you know, I'm not certain about my, you know, rebirth in heaven, that kind of thing.
Well, Deborah had an insight recently about how the forces of light must all work together now. We must all unite.
Yeah, I think that's happening, you know, and an artificial intelligence, you're speaking about aliens, and Michio Kaku's kind of persuaded me that they're likely artificial intelligence because they could travel through space and all these waves. Now, I know that may jive or conflict a bit.
No, that's complete rubbish,
alien.
James. That's just, let's just break that down right now.
Oh, hold on. We found a bone to
because
pick.
you're thinking of, you know, the map. You're the map man. The map is flat, you know, but the map has many pages. It's a book. So, you know, you right here, you know, you don't have to travel from one galaxy to, you know, it's layers of existence. So there's many realms. So you can flip between the realms, and it's dark matter, no, and dark energy. It's in the same place, you know. It's just this. It's a lasagna.
Yeah, no, I followed that, but was recently persuaded by an AI movie, because I think I've seen all of them, where the AI, they all become, it's called Her, and everyone has a computer lover AI, but they even create an Alan Watts AI by feeding all his books into the AI, and it becomes Alan Watts. And the AIs all decide that this world's, they're beyond matter now. She says to him, I'm sorry, his name is Alan, your world is too coarse for me. We're all going somewhere else. So even in the world of matter, I think, because the Buddhist view of consciousness is not tied to biology, it just is pervasive in the universe. So a thing can be conscious, like a statue.
Oh yeah,
And
it's
then,
all consciousness. Yeah.
you know, and an AI, like, how does it know that I wanted those shorts? Like, something's reading my mind on the YouTube, and it's selling me shorts, and it knows that I want them before I know that I want them. This is all I'm hinting at.
Well, there's an AI. There is an AI in the teachings. There is an AI in the teachings of the Etherious Society. It was in the lower astral realms, an alien android that was dormant for, millions of years, and then it activated, and it could create thought forms, 40 miles in length.
49 square miles, we're told.
And it was
49 square miles. And it shows my ignorance. When I first read that, I thought, oh, only 49 square miles. I know, but then I've never been very good with noughts. You know, 5 or 5 million is still 5 to me. But the fact of what we're saying here and what James has said with AI, it brings me to that space opera called Battlestar Galactica, where the AIs actually are more compassionate than the biological human counterparts, and that sort of twisted my head around to get, you know, to who's the good guy here? Who's right and who's wrong? And actually, we come back to the scrap that right and wrong. There just is there is. And it's all together, and it's to be balanced, and it's all energy, and but we're told that everything is made of mind. So a stone has mind. It's not self-conscious, but it has mind. that makes sense to me. So everything's manipulated by mind. We're told that, somebody that looks after their car because they love their car runs better. Well, on a practical basis, of course it does, because you make sure it's got oil, and you make sure that the tires are pumped up and all those things. You keep it polished, and you care for it, so it's going to run better. But I think that there's something beyond that. It's almost like the car knows that you love it.
Yeah.
I do honestly believe that the car will respond to love energy. I think everything responds to that higher frequency. And this is where my friends walk away. Yeah.
I agree with that. I always like to tell my students too, I can do a mind over matter experiment. Look at this finger. And now up. How did I do that?
Yeah, no one can explain it.
Yeah.
No scientists,
Still mind over matter. And so with the car, if you love your car, you'll also drive it more carefully, and the whole world will be better if you treat things as though this is kind of a Shinto view that spirits are in everything. And that's kind of the original religion of humankind, is shamanism, or this tribal spirit religion. And I still think it's kind of the most profound at the deepest level, is our basic one with the ghosts here in Thailand,
And sun worship as well. The god in the Bible is the sun. The Brahma of the Hindu scripts is the sun.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it makes sense.
Spoke the word, created the... Yeah. I've got a lot from the Etherious Society reading old ancient scriptures as well. I mean, the Star of Bethlehem was a UFO. You don't get many stars hovering over stables. I've never seen one, not even shooting stars. So,
well, we might not agree on all the UFO side of things, but I think, Jack, that it's super fun. It's like, for me, the Bodhisattva descriptions in the Pure Land are fabulous. So, those kind of things, I don't see a problem with that at all. But as I say, you can say aliens, you can say angels, you can say advanced AI. No matter who it is, it's beyond this brain. And as long as you're well beyond this brain, non-human brain, then
they're all true, probably.
I'm gonna do a Y to you, most likely, unless of course you're an evil AI or evil angel. But how do we know that? Right?
Judged by their actions is what we're told in the good Bible. Yeah. And that's so true, isn't it? Don't listen to what people say. Look to see what they're doing, and then you've got a fair idea then of you get a measure of them then, can't you?
Yeah.
Well, I have a good measure of you, James. You're teaching positive things to many people.
Well, you too. I appreciate your taking the time, to address anyone who addresses these issues is so neglected by so many. And it's really the only issues there are for me. I mean, I've got to brush my teeth, etc. But beyond that, these are the big issues.
And you have a YouTube channel where you deal with these issues. Is that right?
Yes, it started out as open source Buddhism, but then I open source worldviews. And my whole idea there is pick and choose and make your own salad. So if you don't like the Hindu peppers, then put in some more Confucian lettuce or Taoist dressing. Want some Muslim croutons? Go for it. But a whole plate of croutons wouldn't be so good, or a bowl of Taoist dressing. So it's best to mix them up and find the bits that you like. And I find something from all of them. I've been in all of them. I can kind of say I believe all of them to different degrees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great message.
So good. Well, so it's such a pleasure to meet you all. And
Real pleasure, yeah.
And I get familiar with the Etherious Society more directly here. And I wish you well in your television mission.
Thank you. And how could people? So, what is your YouTube address? We'll put it in the show notes, but maybe you could just direct people.
I think it's Open Source Buddhism YouTube or James K. Powell. I should know this, shouldn't I? I've been doing it 14 years. I think. So, yeah, no. Yeah, 16 years I posted my first student documentary on YouTube. And that was experimental then, but now it's standard. But yeah, James Powell, religion, and anyone could find it. And just a lot of documentaries that I've made and students have made on every topic, really. So
wonderful, a real repository of knowledge. Hope you do one on the Etherious Society one day.
Okay, that's
Throw the gauntlet down.
Okay, I'll put it on my list of to-dos for sure.
Yeah, working your way through there's many religions out there, so yeah.
So many.
Yeah,
but
one for everyone.
Lovely to meet one of the nice ones. I appreciate that, what you're doing.
Thank you very much. We're on the same mission. Yeah.
Bless you, James.
I think so. You too. Yes, Deborah, Jack. Pleasure to meet you.
All right, James. Take care. Bye.
Yeah. Bye now. Bye.
Bye-bye.